and welcome back to the Sewcial Hour Podcast, a podcast for sewists by sewists. I'm your host, Bethany.
And I'm your host, Audra. And today we are joined by an incredible quilt artist who has taken quilting and specifically foundation paper piecing to a whole new level for our generation of quilters. We are honored to be joined by Verushka Zarate of Pride and Joy Quilting. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. My honor.
I mean, I don't fangirl often, but this is one of those moments, and I'm just going to admit it.
Well, I'm tickled. I mean, it's wild to do something and it echoes with other people, and then you find your people through this. So truly the privilege is mine. Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Well, we're excited. And if you didn't know, we always like to kick off with an icebreaker question that we all answer, kind of warms us up. And we also always invite our listeners to answer the question too. And you can drop your answer over on this Facebook group, The Sewcial Sewist. So if you haven't joined our Facebook group, go over there and do so. It's a great way to continue the conversation after the episode ends. But let's kick off with our icebreaker. And this week's question is, if you could turn any object, place, or person into a quilt block or quilt, what would you choose and why? And maybe we'll let you go first, Verushka.
You know why I love that question? Because that's exactly what I'm doing. I mean, which is why foundation paper piecing, which is why I love FPP. I mean, yeah. I understand why most of the time art quilters that have that idea in mind, like if there's something or someone or a place that I want to create, spend time designing and then spend time sewing, which both we know take a lot of time, what would I want to make? I get why most of the time people use applique, because you're working vertically, right? Layering on top of itself. So if a piece doesn't work, then you can just kind of toss it and then recut it, and it doesn't impact and ripple into the other elements. But FPP, you can do that. You can actually design almost sky's the limits, right? We do have some limits, but for me, it's really my little boys are my muses. Although that's had a minute on social media, right? My muse, but they are. Being a mom changed my life in so many ways, and I've been constantly challenging myself to see if I could do what felt impossible, and so I would love to do more of them.
Audra, what about you?
So this won't come to any shock for our listeners who know, but because I've been learning Italian the last couple of years, and Italy is one of my favorite places, I would absolutely hands down choose Venice. And I loved watching Verushka. I know you've been learning French, and I've been like feeling that kindred spirit of learning a language. But I truly love Italy. A part of myself is always in Italy, so I would choose Venice. Beautiful canal shot in foundation paper piecing.
That would be beautiful. I think, okay, I have two, only because Verushka's already done this one. And I have the pattern. I'm just trying to source the fabrics for it, but it's Sydney, Australia. I went earlier this year for the first time and fell in love.
Isn't it amazing?
In ways I didn't know I could. But I did get your pattern, so that's on my list to make. But if not that, since you've already made a pattern for it, my dog Biscuit, if you know, you know, I'm obsessed with my dog. I have two dogs, yes, but Biscuit's like my little girl that I always wanted. And I think she would be an adorable little FPP quilt or block. I definitely am going to have to work on that. Listeners, please go over to our Facebook group, The Sewcial Sewist, and answer this. I would love to see what inspires you and what you would love to be able to capture in fabric one day. All right, you ready to dive in?
Me? Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Always.
I love it. Audra, I'll let you kick us off.
Verushka, for those of our listeners who have not heard of you and seen your work, which would be hard to imagine, but could you give us a little bit of background about how you got here, what got you started in quilting, and then also specifically into foundation paper piecing?
That's a big question. That's a big question. It sounds like a small one, but life takes unexpected turns at unexpected chapters in your life. Um, I've always dabbled in some sort of creative expression all throughout my life since I was a little girl up until now. Actually, I can probably look back at different developmental stages in my life and recall what I was doing creatively as a way to express myself, to soothe myself. And bless his heart, my dad, coming from a very poor background, found his freedom in education, went on to get 2 doctorates, 2 masters. I mean, he was an incredible human being. Would say to me, and I remember this, he would say to me, Verushka, I know you love art, but art will not feed your children. Go to school and then you do art for fun, right? And that was his way of protecting me, really. And a little funny thing, I was in the shower a couple days ago and I remember I all of a sudden recalled this experience where in high school I was dating a boy who was a musician, and he was a very talented musician, and to this day he's a musician. And I remember over the kitchen table in Spanish, he says to my mother, but if she marries him, how will they eat? Because he was a musician, right? And so the reason why I'm saying this is because now where I am, and as I look back, never in my life would I have thought that a creative expression at any time, at any level in those chapters would truly epitomize and consume my life in the most beautiful way. And so for me, happening on quilting and then FPP was a constant exploration of creative expression and needing an outlet, and slowly it developed into the most unexpected and glorious gift at this chapter in my life. So that's a nutshell of how it happened. Now, if you want, I can go into detail on that process, but that's, I think for me, quilting happened as a desire to have a creative outlet at a certain chapter in my life. And as I began to explore different quilting methods, I fell in love with it. I found FPP and then fell in love with it and then got a little obsessed with it. So.
Just a little.
and all of us are benefiting from that.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, so I don't know, but how long have you been kind of, since you started foundation paper piecing, how long has that been?
So I started sewing in 2016. This is when I had a 1-year-old and a newborn. And actually, the way it started was in my other life, I went to grad school, post-grad. I started a PhD program. Found out we were having our first baby after 10 years of thinking we couldn't have babies, and that was a tough time. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, honey, let's go get intervention, and he's like, no, maybe it's not meant to be, or God doesn't want it. I'm like, yeah, but God invented IVF, God invented science. So we had a tough go there, like year 8 and 9 of marriage. It was really tough because I just couldn't see myself without children, and it wasn't happening. Well, all of a sudden we find out we're having our baby, and at that time I was then by then I was working in the counseling psych department here at University of California in Riverside, had our baby, tried working part-time for a hot minute, and the entire time I was at work, I wanted to be home with my baby. Well, like immediately after having our first boy, I find out I'm having my second baby. And it's so funny because my doctor said to me, Verushka, if you don't want another baby, and I'm like, Doc, I had one miracle baby. It's not going to happen again. Well, 11 months later comes my second boy, and I was what they called a geriatric pregnancy at 35. I was like, what? And so I stopped working to be at home, and it was only going to be for 2 years, and we're going on 10, and I don't think I'm going back. And in that, one day my husband comes and says to me, Verushka, what are we going to do about the baby clothes situation? Because it was a situation, and it still is a situation, where I was keeping every meaningful piece of fabric, clothing of my kids, right? Because I thought, if I give away these clothes to someone, they're just hand-me-downs. But to me, this onesie is like a time capsule, right? It's like it takes you back to that moment, and I could not give it away. And so, like the modern girl that we are, I literally went to Google and said what to do with baby clothes. And up came a slew of different things, but one of them that sort of caught my attention because it was destiny was memory quilts. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So you can cut them up. And a caveat, up to this point, I didn't know about quilting. It's not a part of my cultural history. I mean, I'm a first American generation. My mom's Puerto Rican, but I'm the first one born mainland United States. We're from the Caribbean and Latin America. It's hot. Like, we don't have 3 layers of anything there, or else we'd suffocate, right? Like, there is a tradition of like woven textiles, but there's not quilting. I mean, that's from northern countries and cultures, right? So, like, I didn't know that quilting was even like an option of a creative medium, like, at all. So the only reason why I started it was for purely sort of utilitarian reason, right? I need to do something with this clothes, not, oh my God, this can be an incredible creative medium for me to explore. But so I said to my husband, I said, okay, honey, I figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew a quilt. And he's like, 2 problems. Number 1, you don't own a sewing machine. And number 2, you don't know how to sew. And I'm like, easy peasy. I can figure it all out, right? I'm a self-starter. I've always been. I got to figure it out on your own. I was like, I'll solve those. And so, bless his heart, on my first Mother's Day with both of my boys, and this is 2016, maybe a year before, he gives me this Singer sewing machine he bought off of QVC. Okay? At the time, I had a 1-year-old and a newborn, which means I didn't even open the box until a year later. Because, like, that was a chapter in my life where I was lucky to shower that week or, like, have a full meal. Like, it was like Groundhog's Day over and over and over again. And your body is changing. Your identity is changing. There's so much change happening while at the same time it feeling so mundane and repetitive. It really was a beautiful and challenging time. And so I didn't even open the box until a year later, and the entire computer component didn't work on it out of the box. And so that took, like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months to get fixed, right? Because we can't ever get anything fixed on the timely manner. And then I set out to teach myself to sew because I had an objective. Like, I need to do something with these precious baby clothes. And in my mind's eye, I was thinking, okay, I'm learning something new, which means I'm going to be making a lot of mistakes. So I can't start with these baby clothes because it's not like, oops, I'm learning, I made a mistake. Let me run down to local Joann's, which doesn't exist anymore, rest in peace, and buy 5 more yards of this invaluable baby clothes, right? And so what happened in my brain, now that I have time to reflect on it, was I had an objective. I needed to master the skill so that I could fulfill this objective. And in that process, I fell in love with, like, learning about quilting. And so I could only like research and learn after my babies were asleep, as some of us know. And so I would put them to bed and then I would go learn. And so all of a sudden I was putting them to bed earlier and earlier so that I could run to my iPad and, like, start voraciously reading all the blogs and videos and everything that existed. And this really remarkable thing started happening where, in a time where so much was being poured out of me, right? This thing started to pour back in. And I started feeling a sense, and I know this sounds so weird, but when those days feel like so repetitive and you go from being a super high achiever academic to, like, sitting at home and, like, am I doing it right? Am I raising them right? You know, you feel like you're not achieving or accomplishing. And there was something so, like, therapeutic and meditative about putting these 2 pieces of fabric together underneath a sewing machine, and it was literally moving forward. Like you see okay, there's something in my life that's progressing forward, right? And I had something tangible to show. So one day my husband comes home and he's like, Verushka, like, and it wasn't meant in any kind of mean way. He's like, what did you do today? And I was like, you know what I did today? The house didn't burn down and the kids are alive. And he's like, whoa, what's happening? And so once I had something, I was like, look, I made this 9 patch. And he was like, that's fantastic. But it was something I was making and it started to fill my spirit. And so, like we do, I wanted to make sort of like the researcher in me, I needed to try out all of the different techniques, right? And so to make a long story short, I forgot all about the baby clothes. The baby clothes is only like, it's only getting worse as the boys get older. So I'm going to
You never made the baby quilt. That's amazing.
I made one for him as like a thank you, like, oh, thank you. But no, the baby clothes situation is only getting stacked up higher and higher in my garage.
I just have to say I feel validated because I have a bin of Charlie's first year baby clothes were like my favorites, like the holiday ones and like the ruffle butted onesies and stuff that I'm like, I'm going to deconstruct this and turn this into a really cute quilt. And it is also still in a bin and she turns 13 next month.
Yeah.
So yay me.
Yeah.
So I feel validated.
High five, mama.
Yeah, I think we all do. I mean, I have a box right here in this closet with my son's baby clothes, and he's 19.
Yeah.
Is this the challenge? This is the challenge. Yeah. All 3 of us need to actually like make the quilt.
No, I'm too scared. I'll
but
cut
doesn't
into
it
any
like bring
fabric.
you comfort knowing like, okay, it's there. Like
It's
whenever
there.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's this
it's
ruffled
there.
skirt that I'm in love with. That was like my favorite thing she ever wore. And I'm like, it'd be such a cute quilt block, but I think I'd be scared to cut into it.
My son has all of these T-shirts from growing up. Like his school always had like these fun runs and all these other things for like a T-shirt for every grade, and I have all of those. And those I wouldn't mind like cutting into like a T-shirt quilt or something like that. But these like little tiny baby clothes, he's my one and only. I just couldn't do it. And some of those clothes I wore as a baby.
Oh.
Like the little Oshkosh overalls and stuff like my brother wore and then I wore and my nephew wore. Like there's no way I'm
Wait, and
those
it's so
those overalls are
powerful,
40
isn't
years
it?
old. It is.
How fabric has deep meaning to our lived experience. Like you cannot bring yourselves to cut into this fabric because it's so deeply meaningful. And I think that says a lot to why quilting is so powerful, because I think I don't know what it is about textures and textiles, but it encapsulates human experience somehow. Like the other day I was scrolling, right, and they found in a bog in like Denmark like this woven dress that like a little girl in the Viking era, and it's like out there, right, being displayed, and people are fascinated by this textile. And I can't help but think that part of the power of why quilting is so transformative is that it's deeply rooted with our memory and our experience, right? I mean, clothing, not just clothing, but how we wrap ourselves and how we give warmth to ourselves from Adam and Eve and the fig leaf to like now, right? It's just a very powerful part.
Ourselves too, right? It's a form of expression.
Yeah.
And I think that, that kind of leads us into like wanting to talk a little bit about just where you draw your inspiration from. Obviously, I know it's from your boys and how much they inspire you and the quilts that you've done that have incorporated them. But outside of that, you've done some very big faces that we all know, right? And some historical people that we admire. And so I'm just curious, but you always, have done like locations like Sydney, Australia, like we were talking about, and other places around the world. So where does your inspiration come from to design these very intricate and beautiful and bold, very bold colors for your foundation paper piecing patterns?
Color-wise, I'm drawn to vibrancy and even color. The selection of color and the color palette was an evolution of like trial and error, which I can talk about later on. But I didn't start with saying, oh, I'm going to do bright colors. There was an evolutionary process for me, a creative evolution that was like, oh, a constant asking of what are the colors that bring me joy? What worked here and what didn't? But I'm very drawn to the story of overcoming, like our stories, especially women's stories of resiliency, of strength. I'm very drawn to symbolisms of archetypes, right? Throughout history, the queen, the mother, the warrior. And I think a lot of that has to do with my therapeutic background, where the population I served, my patients were typically women and women's issues, and in particular, women in different developmental stages in life, because who we are as people changes throughout our life, and the values and the priorities that we have shift slightly, right? Who I am now as a 45-year-old is not the same as I was when I was 35, is not the same as I was 25. There are common threads, but I am not the same person. And so I'm fascinated by archetypes of women that I emulate, that I admire, and what are the characteristics of those women. And so I love all of most of my portrait work is female archetypes, or symbolisms of women that embody strength and fortitude and resilience. And then my babies. and the reason why I started the landscapes is because as human beings, we're also drawn to place. Like what grounds you, right? If you ask someone, hey, what's your name? Oftentimes people say, well, my name is, Audra, and I'm going to go live in Italy, right? What about a location, a place, a language, a culture? Which, by the way, we can have a conversation about, because when I was 18, I moved to Florence for like a year. But that's another. Oh. We'll have another conversation. I felt like I've lived.
The DMs.
Yeah. I felt like I've lived many lives. Io parlano un pochino, ma io ho dimenticato tutto. So
you just made her day, by the way.
Yeah. We're drawn to location and place, right? Where we say, where I'm from East Coast, or like I'm a Cali girl, or, my family is from Latin America. We're drawn to land. And our human experience is oftentimes very anchored to place. And so I thought, well, how interesting to do a landscape quilts. And mind you, it started off as a fluke, really. The MQG asked me to teach my very first class I had ever taught, talk about jumping in the deep end, was in 2020, and it was in Phoenix. And I thought, I'm going to do a landscape quilt because it's very meaningful. And it was sort of this idea of capturing memories, which is actually a positive psychological therapeutic tool. So modern psychology often looks at what are the things that are not working in your life. Can you identify those and then diminish their impact in your life, right? Well, there's a foil opposite to modern psychology, which is positive psychology, which is saying what are the things that are working in your life? Can you identify those and do more of those, right? And I think it's a great balance to sort of the deficiency model. But one of the exercises in positive psychology is this technique called capturing memories, which is when there is something really awesome happening in your life, this thing that you are engaging in, or an event or an experience that you feel joy, that you feel calm, that you feel peace, intentionally capture the memory. What does it feel like in your body? What does it look like in your brain? What are the colors? What's the smell? What's the sound? And capture it so that you can do a positive recall. Because we're very good at negative recall, right? Oh my gosh, something triggered me. I feel angry, upset, diminished, ignored, rejected. We're very good at negative recall. But what would it be like if we also developed a sort of model of resiliency to have positive recall? So when we're feeling down or dejected or lonely or depressed, we can go, let me tap into this thing within me that brings me joy, that sort of resets my clock. So that's what capturing memories is actually from. And I thought, well, I think it could also play on this idea of like capturing quilty memories, like quilty adventures of all of these places that I've given workshops with and truly built community, which quilting is amazing and I love it as an art form. But were it not for the community part, I wonder if I would have gotten tired of it, like I've gotten tired of other creative expressions, right? Because I'm sure you've done this. Like, I taught myself graphic design and watercolor and photography. And while I was in grad school, I was like pitching restaurants and laundromats. Can I do graphic work for you? And I would tire from it, right? But quilting has been the one thing that has been this very holistic experience, and you don't feel so isolated. So that's where my muses come from, and then my babies, because I'm obsessed with them. They are the sun to my planet, and I am not embarrassed or shy to say that. They are welcome into my space at any time, and they know pride and joy is them, and they feel a sense of welcome and a part of it. Like they go, "Mommy, we won best of show," or whatever. And
I have to say that video of when you won and someone panned over and they just jumped on you and gave you the biggest hug. I cried watching it because I was just like, it just speaks volumes to who you are, the mother you are, the children and the young men you are raising, having them being involved in what you're doing is huge. You know, it's a big part of who you are, but you're sharing that with them and they get to watch you and be a part of it. It was such a special moment. It wasn't just you winning, it was them winning, your husband went, like the whole family. And then the whole community who loves you felt like we won too, because we've always been cheering you on. So I have to say it was a very special moment. You've had a lot of amazing accolades and awards from your quilting, but this one was a big one, and you've had a big year. But watching that video, I mean, your quilt is beautiful, but watching that video of your boys as a boy mom, he does everything with me. He's my biggest cheerleader and supporter. Gosh, it got me so good. And I just have to say, it's really a joy to watch. Watch you be a mom with them, and watch them admire you and what you're doing. And then you making them a part of it, which is really sweet.
It's hard. Parenting is so hard. Parenting is so hard. And there's a constant, like, am I doing it right? Am I doing enough? Am I being enough? And then there are these moments where you're like, okay, I'm okay for right now. Like, they like being with me right now. I don't know how it'll be when they're 15 and 16, but thank you for that.
Hey, my 19-year-old still likes to hang out with me. We had the best day yesterday afternoon. We took the afternoon to go do stuff. He was like, yeah, let's go to the quilt shop. And he walked up and down every aisle helping me find the perfect fabric for a project. And then we went to the other store, and then we went to the guitar shop. And, like, you know, we did stuff he likes, did stuff I like. But we just have fun hanging out together. And I think that is a sign that, like, you're doing something right. I know I didn't do everything right, and I don't expect to, but he still enjoys hanging out with me. He was still the cool mom.
Yeah.
And I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see a lot of that of how your boys are with you is how my son is with me. And how Charlie is with Audra. I mean, her daughter and her are like best friends, and it's really sweet to see how their bond and their connection. And I think any parent who has that with their child, and it's not always,
no,
you know, but it's just really sweet to see. And I just want to see more of that.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing them with all of us.
I feel it's a gift, truly. I feel like any time, and it's very hard to know how much to share on social media. That's been very difficult to know how much to share of who you are, how much is private, how much is not. Social media has been the greatest gift, because I read somewhere where they said, you know, if I had 300 people walk into a gallery and see my work, that would be a tremendous success, right? Well, when we dare to put as much of our authentic self online, and we have thousands of people looking at us, what a gift, right? But it can also feel very, at least for me, very vulnerable. Like like at the same time you have all these people looking at you, but you also have all lights on you, which means the trolls come out too, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's a lot of beauty in the quilting community. Most of it for me has been 99.99999% positive, encouraging, uplifting. And then you have the little 0.01 that can often feel like 90%, which is so unhealthy, right? But I try as much as possible to, at this chapter in my life, being a mother is what I am. The quilting part has been the most, it's like the aroma of this time. But I have little children, and balancing it all with that is challenging.
And it's hard because you don't want to feel guilty for spending time away from them, but still being able to incorporate them and finding that balance. But you're doing it right.
I'm very hard on myself. I have good Catholic shame constantly running through my brain. If I'm working, I feel guilty. If I'm with them, I feel guilty. So it's just like mea culpa all the time. And it's something I'm imperfectly working with. Like when I'm gone traveling, it's really hard because my husband, bless his heart, I couldn't do any of this without him. Period. Number one, he gave me my first sewing machine, which is kind of funny because he'll tell me, Verushka, you only said you were going to travel like every 3 months. Like it's like you're being gone a lot, right? And I'm like, look, you believed in me. You equipped me.
You did this.
Supported me. So
you created this monster.
You created this monster. But I couldn't do any of this without his support, because the truth is we've now become we were a one income family so that I could stay home with our children. That would not be possible without support, right? And that kind of goes back to what my dad would tell me, right? Art will not feed your children, right? To be an artist and to work off of your art is a tremendous privilege, like a tremendous privilege. You need, like, who's paying your rent? Like, I think, like, when I see artists who've like have always lived as artists, the sort of Latina in me thinks like, who's grocery shopping? Who's paying the rent, the lights? Like, do you really sell? Like, how does that work? And so props to husbands or wives that support their partner in their self-discovery, in equipping them and saying, hey, go fly. And I will work it out on my end. Because I say this, it's wrong, but it's right too. He has like the real job, like the one that pays the mortgage, right? Like I make some money, but it's like not enough to like sustain us here in Southern California. I don't know, maybe in Kansas, I'm not sure, maybe in another part of the United States. But even then, times are changing, right? But without a partner's support, I personally couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at all. Someone to watch my children so that I can sew for 8 hours straight. Not really. Yeah, really, I do. Get up, Verushka, my back hurts. But I couldn't do it without my husband's support. Parenting, quilting, all of it. He's not perfect, let me tell you. We're going on 23 years of marriage. It's the 27th. But he's been a big part of why I've been able to do any of this.
So we're going to kind of dive into FPP a little bit because I'm a big fan. I've been doing foundation paper piecing, I don't know, for about 1.5 years.
Isn't it awesome?
It changed my whole opinion on quilting.
Yeah.
I was a garment sewist. I was a bag maker, all the crafty things, but I was like quilting. I just associate it with my mom, who I love and is a fantastic quilter, but she's a perfectionist and all the little pieces. And I was just like, I don't have time to cut all of that. And then want to sew. I just want to get to the fun part. I want to sew. And I like quick projects. And to me, watching my mom make a quilt, she is very methodical about it. So to me, that was my only exposure to quilting. And I'm thinking it's going to take that long to finish one?
Yeah.
No, thank you. It just didn't interest me. So then I got into foundation paper piecing and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
That I could make like your sewing machine that's hanging behind me, and an afternoon, like in a sitting. The hardest part was just picking the fabric colors I wanted to use for it, you know? And so just getting to play with fabric in a way that allows me to feel a little scrappy. I don't have to be perfect, but when I follow the paper, guess what? It always looks really good. It just feels foolproof, and I can get to the sewing a lot faster.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know the technical side of what FPP is, or foundation paper piecing, maybe you can take a minute to kind of explain what it really is for those who have never tried it or heard of that terminology, and then maybe even share a couple of your favorite tools or papers or techniques that you swear by that a beginner could really benefit from, because I know FPP can be intimidating to people the first time or two. It does take a few times for the light bulb to click, but it can click.
Yes. So what is FPP, foundation paper piecing? I've come to learn that there are many approaches to foundation paper piecing, right? As there are to traditional quilting, to improvisational quilting, to applique, which is beautiful, actually. There are many ways to bake a cherry pie. It's all like the same ingredients, but the dosages, not even dosages, what would you call it? The measurements? Can you tell? Medication-wise, you're going to need this much, antidepressant, this much anxiety. The measurements are all different. When we all throw in our special secret sauce, right? Oh, a little dash of baking powder or whatever. There are many approaches to FPP. The one that I do is simply one. So typically speaking, you have a foundation, literally a starting point that is paper. And the kind that I do, which I thought was like the traditional or like the most common type of foundation paper piecing, was you actually sew the fabric onto the paper. And you slowly, through manipulating the layering that occurs on this paper, are able to achieve very, very detailed sewing that the paper makes it possible to do. So in something that really kind of clicked for me when I shifted from traditional quilting to FPP, which I learned how to traditional quilt, which, by the way, I think we don't give traditional quilters enough credit because it's super hard. Okay,
it's not easy.
People think FPP is hard. It's not. As long as you sew on the line, you're golden. But traditional quilting truly is a super advanced craftsman's skill. You have to cut really precise. You have to sew really precise. You have to iron really precise. And more importantly, with traditional quilting, it's essential to be intentional every step of the way. Because if you shortcut a little here and a little there, you're going to see it in the long run, right? Like in the beginning, my blocks were either 1/4 of an inch too big or 1/4 of an inch too small. And what contributed to that? Like a slew of things, right? So and I'm really glad I learned with traditional quilting, because it taught me, number one, enjoy the process, because you spend like 9 months cutting, right? And then you spend another 8 months sewing, and you don't even see the quilt come together until like the last day, right? Like you spent 10 months cutting and sewing, and then like one day the quilt comes together. So it takes a lot of patience. So for me, what made the click for me was to realize foundation paper piecing, the type that I do, is essentially are like wonky, irregular looking log cabins that when put together give the illusion of Joan of Arc or an elephant or a flower, right? But if you look at it technically, they are essentially log cabins, which are the same thing as courthouse steps, which are the same thing as a pineapple quilt. You have 3 blocks that are exactly the same block, but they're named something different because the sequence in which you add the fabric to the centerpiece is different. So it gives a different look, right? So a log cabin is you start in the center and then you go, and then you rotate in a circular manner, right? Top side, bottom side, top side, and then you go, and then you have a log cabin. It's a circular motion of sequential sewing. Then you have courthouse steps, right? You have the center point, and you go top, bottom, side, side, top, bottom, side, side, top, bottom, side, side. Then you have a pineapple quilt. I realized that there is overlap in understanding when it comes to traditional quilting and foundation paper piecing. And it's been interesting for me to see so many seasoned quilters who like, I really don't like FPP. I don't get it, or I wasn't taught well, or it's like confusing, or it's backwards. But for me, when I realized, oh, they're just log cabins, they're just all funky and weird and independently designed from each other, it was a big, like, aha moment. And what was the other part of the question? I lost.
If you have like any favorite tools, papers, or even a technique that you're like, this is kind of what helped me or helped beginners kind of click and find confidence in doing FPP.
So for me, when I realized that is what was happening structurally, it made sense to me. Then you could kind of play with how, by joining different units together, you can give the illusion of a continuous shape by using solid colors, right? And so it was a process of trying it out, seeing if it works, trying it out and seeing if it works. And there are many different types of FPP. So the type that I do is what I like to call a shape-based FPP, which is you have these large, intact, uncut sections that are sewn onto other sections. And so what it does, it creates really seamless, clean finishes. Then there's a grid-based approach where basically, like the sewing machine, you would take it and you would cut it up into a grid, kind of like blocks. You would FPP within that block, and then you sew those rows together. There are pros and cons to both. They're not cons, but they're just different, approaches. So for me, I like having a very clean finish with eliminating as many unnecessary seams as possible. But it's tough to have these large sections to work with underneath your sewing machine versus a grid-based approach. You can manage a 10 by 10 inch block, but then when you sew these rows together, you have all these unnecessary seams. What I encourage new quilters to do, number one, is to try, okay, I'm going to backtrack. Quilting is like an ice cream shop. Como una gelateria, okay? You go and you see all the gelato, right? And you basically taste test all of the different flavors. And there will be some flavors for Bethany that are like, oh, amazing, right? And Audrey and me will be like, ew, Bethany, that's gross, right? A girlfriend of mine was like, can't we just have vanilla and chocolate anymore? Why are these all weird flavors? And I'm like, boring. Quilting is like an ice cream shop, and workshops give you the chance to try all the different flavors of quilting. It gives you a chance to see, does this approach, this way of looking, really fit me or not? And there will be some people that will love FPP, like I can't do anything else. And there will be, for other people who are like, this is just not for me. So a friend of mine, her name is Timna, she does a lot of improvisational art, and I was listening to her give a talk the other day, and she says, I love starting a project and not knowing where I'm going, right? That gives me anxiety. Like, I couldn't think of any, and I love that. I love that for her, the not knowing is the joy. For me, like, I need to know the itinerary. Like, where on this trip are we going so that I can plan for it, right? Yeah. I'm very firstborn type A type of person, right? So I like that. I like that. Are we going to Venice first? And where are we going? And then
do I need a raincoat? And do we know the forecast? And are there umbrellas available in the hotel lobby if we need them?
Yeah.
And also, like,
yeah. Now, there's room for improvisation in that. Like, Audra, if you and Bethany, if you want to stop and have a little gelato here, then I'm all for that. Oh, but FPP is that. FPP gives you the entire itinerary of where you're going versus like improvisational quilting. It's like, girls, let's get in a car. Where are we going? I don't know. Let's just go west, right? And then you accept choices as you go, which is a totally awesome thing for most people, right?
That are not me.
FPP is the itinerary. Like, you know where
Yeah.
you're going from the beginning, which design-wise, I start with the concept of where I already want to go, right? I know I want to do a landscape of Sydney, and this is what I'm doing. And so I kind of reverse engineer that. And so what I say to new quilters is, not every technique will be a good fit for you. You won't, rare is the specimen who's going to love everything and be very good at everything. No one is really like that. We all have different flavors that we like, and that's very legitimate. Like, I think oftentimes we think, oh, I have to like everything and be very good at everything. Who says? Like, I can't bake to save my life, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with me either, right? But ask me to make you some yummy enchiladas, I'll knock that out of the park, right? I mean, we're not all gifted in all the things. I can't garden to save my life versus my mother. So it's the same in quilting. So what I encourage quilters who are new is try all the things and listen to your inner being. Is there something in this process that you're enjoying? And if so, explore that with a voracious hunger, because it might take you to unexpected places. Likewise, if there is a technique, or maybe even like a crappy teacher, that happens sometimes, and you're just not liking it, listen to that, right? And say, this just isn't for me. And I'll tell you why. I live by this mantra now, where quilting is the one thing in my life that's sacred space. Which means if there's something I'm doing or a color I'm using that isn't bringing me joy, that's done. Like this whole concept of whips, like we get whipped up in, oh, I got to finish. Or there was this one student in Scotland who's like, I've got 94 whips. And she feels so shameful about it. And I'm like, wait. No. And she goes, I have to finish them. Mom said, no, you don't. Those are 94 evidences of you trying a new project. And it was done. Like, once it filled its purpose in your being, it's done. So hand it off to someone else who can, So if there's something in my quilting life that doesn't bring me joy, I just don't do it. There's already too much in my life that I got to do out of a sense of responsibility. Like, I got to go and do lunch because I love my children. I don't like doing lunch, but I love my children, right? Like, quilting is the same. There are some things that I just don't like. This is the one sacred space where I'm not going to do something that doesn't bring me joy. Well,
and can we also say, like, it's okay to stop liking something. Like, I feel like for me, I go through phases, right? Like, I have phases where I did a lot of garment sewing, and then I was like, okay, I need to scratch a new itch. I need to feel challenged again. I need to feel inspired again. It's not that I don't love garment sewing and all of that, but it's like I needed a change of pace to try something new, dive into something else. And so it's okay. Like, I know I'll come back to it, but like, and I can do it, but it's like
1,000%.
Sometimes I just need a change of pace to get me excited again. When you do like all the things, like sometimes you just need to like focus on something a little more, dive in a little deeper, or try a new, more advanced skill to, like I said, scratch an itch to want to feel challenged again. And I think that's okay too. So don't like, if you enjoyed something and then get tired of it, that doesn't mean that it's not for you anymore. It's just, it's okay to look and do something else and put it aside for a little bit. You don't have to keep doing something because that's what you've been doing. We get stuck in these niches, and I'm like, hey, and you have permission to do something different and take a break from whatever you were doing before.
I love that.
Well, and I think first we need to go back and recognize how killer that Scottish accent was.
Oh yeah,
because we can't pass over that. That was like, that was impeccable. I was like, whoo, I'm in Scotland. So that was incredible. We just need to talk about that for a second. But I can't agree more. I've been starting to do some serious deep cleaning of things that you hold on to because you're like, I'm going to do it one day. I'm going to do it one day. And finally, I'm at the point where I'm like, no, this quilt kit that I've had for 6 years is not going to get sewn. It's just not. Because if it was going to do it, I would have done it already.
Yeah.
And so now I'm kind of at that place where I'm just like, find a new home, pay it forward, find a new home. Because it's not going to get done. And then it's the guilt weighs down about not finishing it. So we're just going to move on.
Yeah. And that's self-imposed guilt because no one's doing that to you. You don't get stars for trudging through the discipline of finishing something you don't like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's too much in my life I got to do out of a sense of duty, and I'm really trying to have quilting not be that.
And I think that is a wonderful message for us and all of the listeners to take away, because it should be, creativity should be a sacred space that we're constantly feeding. And that's just drawing down. It's not feeding that fire.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more, if you're willing to share, how you create these incredible designs? Is it by hand? Is it software? Like, how do you do it? I tried once to do my own like design, because I wanted to do this theater mask, like wall hanging for my daughter. And I tried to do my own foundation paper piecing design, and I was like, yeah, okay, moving on. We'll do something else. So please, if you're willing to share how that happens.
Absolutely. So there's a unique factor that I think that plays into FPP in particular that doesn't apply to other methodologies, because it's so structural. This particular technique, you have to master the technique itself before you design it. Unlike like applique or like improv, where you can just start, right? You just start. Because it's so procedural in how you are using layering, it's essential, first of all, to feel comfortable with the technique. So I've had students who've never done FPP who get excited. They come to the class, they're loving the technique, and they're like, okay, how do I design an FPP portrait of all 6 of my kids and my husband and I? I'm like, hold the phone. Like, let's just start learning to pedal before we do alley-oops, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing is you have to understand the technique like the back of your hand, because with FPP you actually sew from inside out, but you design from outside in. Okay, so that's the first thing. Get comfortable with the technique. And the way you get comfortable with the technique, and I'm just speaking from how it happened with me, is once I found that FPP was like the thing that sparked a fire within me, I started making as many patterns as I could from different designers. And then I started seeing systems. I started seeing commonalities and themes. I started seeing different approaches to the same things, some of which I thought were more successful than others. Some I thought that could be done in a different way that would be more successful. And so that's when I began to play. And so there are many, you're essentially drawing lines. You're essentially drawing log cabins, right? Except that they're different sizes, different shapes within them all. So the way I started was I would take a picture on my phone. So like my kids would be in Taekwondo, and this is how obsessive I was. I would take a picture with my phone, and you know how when you take a picture, you can do the edit, and there's a little pencil. And I would take a picture, and while I was waiting, I would start dividing up the room. So like I would take a picture of like a door, a lamp, a garbage can. At the park, I would take a picture of the swing and all sorts. And so I began to play. So I would draw them up, I would name them, and then I throw it away. I would draw it up, I would name it, and then I would throw it away. And then so that was essentially pencil and paper, right? You can start with pencil and paper. You start sketching things out, you cut it up, and you see, does this work? Because I already had experience with Adobe Illustrator. Now, there are some drawbacks to Adobe Illustrator. It's the tool that I use to say, oh, instead of having to redraw this on the paper 1,000 times, and every time I need an edit, I have to redo the whole thing, I can do this digitally, right? But this is the caveat I want to say regarding programs. You do not have to learn a whole new software language to just start playing. Like you can literally do it on your phone. So I know of FPP designers who use Microsoft Corel, which is the free drawing software that comes on your computer. It's totally free. I know of FPP designers that use Inkscape, which is like Adobe Illustrator, but it's free. I know of FPP designers that use Affinity, for sure Illustrator. I know of FPP designers that use PowerPoint to make their FPP designs and patterns, right? I know of FPP designers that use Canva to design. So all of this to say, it's not the software. What tool do you already have in your pocket that you feel comfortable with that you can use? Because you're essentially just drawing shapes, lines, right? Now, and they should pay me for this, but they don't. If I was to go back in time, I wish I would have known about EQ8, Electric Quilt 8, because so the drawback of paper or any of those drawing softwares are that you are working with every single color within the rainbow to design with. When you go then to try to translate that to fabric, you get stymied because you don't have that particular violet or that particular blue. And so you are not working within the palette of colors that are already in print. EQ8 actually has digital swatches of current fabrics that are currently in print and being produced, which is challenging, right? Because typically speaking, which is why I really design in solids, because they don't go out of print. And early on, I remember I would hoard all this fabric and I would have anxiety if I would have enough when I finally got to it. But solids, like you can find, and it's actually been very beneficial internationally because you can be in Australia or Italy or wherever, you have some form of red. You have some form of green, right? Whereas if you have a pattern that's based on a particular fabric collection, the pattern dies as soon as the collection goes out of print. So what I encourage people to do is if you really like FPP, get very good at it. And number two, then just start to play. And start to play with drawing simple things first. I did not start with triple portraits, folks. Like, I made so many mistakes along that way. Like, a lot of mistakes. And I think often.
But it was a cool garbage can.
Like, the coolest. Like, the coolest. So, let's take a garbage can. You know what was the hardest? So there was one time where I did a recycle and I'm like, oh shoot, how would I do like the recycle circle, right? So there are unique challenges with even doing a garbage can that I remember. But there's a level of developing a sense of mastery and competence, right? You have to start with little things in order to have a sense of self-esteem and mastery to move on to harder things. And you have, in other words, you have to get a sense of the rhythm of the bicycle before you're doing alley-oops and tricks. And so get really good at the technique, have a furious hunger to learn more, and give yourself the grace to play, right? When you start designing, you're not designing a show quilt for QuiltCon friends, right? Like start with just like developing a sense of, I really am enjoying this. I'm getting it. What am I learning? Still to this day, when I draft something, I'll do an initial draft and then I throw it away to get the initial lines out of my head. And then I'll go in again and say, is this seam truly necessary, right? And sometimes I'll go from an image source. Sometimes I'll do like collages, like for example, Sydney or my landscape quilts. Like I would get all of these collages and I'd be like, okay, what do I really want to pull? And so, for example, I have a retreat in Paris is coming November, and I'm like, okay, Paris, I want all of the all of the monuments. So I have them all there, right? I'm like, is it achievable? Probably not. But so just start and have a sense of play. And I think when you have a sense of play, you become more accepting of mistakes. And one of the things that I'm trying to learn is that mistakes are just information. They have no say on the value of who I am as a person. Like oftentimes we'll make a mistake and be like, oh, I'm so stupid, or oh my God, I can't believe I did that, right? Versus, I made this mistake. What information can I gather from this mistake to take on to the next step? That was a big thing for me because, being really hard on myself, type A, I got to know all the things from the very get-go, right? Mistakes are very hard to tolerate because I want it right. I don't want to waste time, basically. But mistakes give you information that allow you to make a better, more informed step second time around and third time around. And so all my Dignity Statue quilt is evidence of all the mistakes, learning opportunities I've had, in the last 4 or 5 years of voraciously looking at, okay, what did I do wrong here? Oh, it's not that I did it wrong, is I didn't have this bit of information when I did this particular thing.
I have a quick question in regards to, and I'm going to call it tongue in cheek, the dark side of foundation paper piecing.
Ooh, okay.
and it's the paper, right?
Oh.
You got this beautiful thing done, and then there's removing all the paper. So do you have any good tips on, I mean, like some people, on bigger chunks, I find it kind of therapeutic, but it's the smaller ones, you're like, this is not so therapeutic. Yeah. So do you have any tips on that part of the process? And I'm like fast forwarding from like, ooh, design to now you've got to take it apart. But like, how do you handle that?
I love that. So there are two approaches. One, if you absolutely hate the taking out of paper, then you can use a freezer paper method, which basically means you're still using paper, but you fold it over, and then you sew along the edge, and then you fold over again the freezer paper, you stick it on. Those work, I think, in my opinion, really good for like larger scale stuff. But when you have high detail things, I don't want any shifting happening. So you're going to have to tear out the paper in that case, right? Some people like to change the quality of the paper. Like, so for example, they'll do like newsprint, or I've heard some people like vellum. I know of some people that use it's like a tea bag type of paper, but I just use plain old Costco recycled copy paper because I rather spend my money on something I don't have to tear out, right? This is the one time you don't want something high quality. You just want something that's strong enough to hold, but easy to tear out. What makes tearing out easy is the stitch length. So if you are working anything higher than a 1.5 stitch length, well, there's a lot of reasons why you want a 1.5 stitch length, which I could go into. It's a design component, but it's also a utilitarian use. You got to rip out the paper at the end. But if your stitches are too big, you begin to see them in between the layers. So if your stitch is too wide, you're going to rip out your stitch when you rip out your paper, right? So let's say you're having a really hard time taking out a piece of paper. You can actually take a Q-tip and dip it in water and put that water on the seams. And then what happened is kind of like when you were in grade school and you didn't have scissors and you were folding with your tongue to rip. You're kind of doing that to be able to tear out the paper. So that's one thing. I also use tweezers, which help a lot. One thing that I do, and this is something that I started about a year ago, as I finish a section, and a section is typically lots of pieces that are joined together that added to another section, I will take out all of the paper within that section and then join it. And then, so like I'm taking out the paper as I go, which I know is like super controversial to some people. Like they don't take it out until the very end. And that's fine. For me, I'm like, the paper no longer serves me. So it can go at this point, right? And that's been really great because then I don't have a massive quilt to tear out paper with. But if you do have a massive quilt to tear out paper with, and it can be like a family party, like everyone comes and takes out the paper.
I was going to ask if your boys have ever
we've done
you.
that. Oh yeah. And it creates
I'll provide pizza
mess.
And wine. Come rip out paper.
Just don't spill it on the quilt. But reducing the stitch length helps a whole lot, and you can use a little bit of water to tear that out with tweezers. But it's kind of one of the drawbacks. You know, you have these beautiful, intricate, small detail pieces. You're going to have to tear out the paper, unfortunately.
That smaller stitch length does make a big difference. It's like perforating it, right?
Right.
So it just comes right out.
Yeah. It's doing a slew of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to jump into our stitch and share real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so we have a segment. We change it every week, and then we kind of rotate through the same four. But Stitch and Share is where we currently share what we're working on or a project. It could be a fun pattern. It could be prepping for an event, really anything. Usually Audra and I will answer this, but since you're our guest today, we'd love to know what you are currently working on.
If you can tell us.
I'm working on three things. One is secret. So the project that's the design is a secret, but not the so the MQG asked me to do the giveaway raffle quilt for QuiltCon this coming year. So I've been working on it and it's actually done, and a friend of mine's going to quilt it. So that project I literally finished like maybe 2 days ago. Wow. Which feels a relief, actually, because I don't like doing commission quilts. It's actually something I decided early on because it doesn't bring me joy and it actually gives me a lot of stress. But how do you say no to the MQG? I couldn't do it. The Modern Quilt Guild is what the MQG is, for those who don't know. So I finished that. then I have a Garden of Quilts coming up in September. And so I have to quilt projects that I've already finished because I have a horrible habit of like, I finish a top, that's done. And then I can't exhibit them because I haven't actually quilted them. So I have to quilt that. And then I have a project I have to do for November when I go over to the retreat in Paris with Florentine. So I have to finish that project sooner rather than later. So those are still for this year. And then next year there's a whole other things that I have to get done. So I don't suffer from like no sojo. Like there's stuff I got to do, right? My issue is always having time to do it. And then the creative headspace to actually think of design. That I think is always not considered. People say, well, how long did it take you to make this? But I don't think we ever give space for how long did it actually take you to come up with the idea? Like that's the hardest bit, right? Like what do you want to do? And what will that look like? That's always the most challenging bit. And I don't think we give enough space for that. How hard it is to even come up with an initial idea. How will you approach that idea? It's kind of like when you ask someone, well, what do you want? Well, I don't know. It would seem like an easy question, but it's the hardest question to ask.
Yeah.
So those are some of the projects. I'm interested to know what projects you ladies are working on.
I don't even know right now.
I'm getting through the day.
Yeah, I mean, Audra and I both work in the industry, so I think our challenge, and I'll correct me if I'm wrong, Audra, but like we have work projects, and those kind of always take like precedence over the things we want to do for ourselves, and so I have like things I'm working on for myself, but then I have things that I have to work on for work, and it's just finding that balance, right? So for me, I have a few things I need to finish quilting, but I want to quilt it with my embroidery machine because I don't have a long arm yet. Fingers crossed. I'm working on it.
That.
That's one of my
manifested, Bethany.
Yes, but I really want to figure out how to do edge to edge with my big embroidery machine, and so I have a quilt top that I did a whole sew along for work with. It was like a 3-part series, and we finished it. Now I need to actually quilt it so I can bind it, and that's what I'm going to work on this weekend. Audra, what about you?
Well, keeping in the theme of the episode, it's become an annual thing with my mom and I. My mom has a guild challenge every year, and so she usually makes the quilt top and then she'll bring it to me to quilt it for her. So I have her quilt guild challenge for this year, which is a beautiful big foundation paper pieced quilt top. So I need to load that onto the long arm and start stitching that for her. And it's always a little nerve-wracking when you're quilting something for someone else because they put a lot of love and effort into it and lots of paper ripping time into it. So I want to make sure I honor that. So that's going to go on the long arm this weekend. And I also have, I'm going to be working on a new free project for my blog this weekend. Nice. So those are kind of my current projects.
How exciting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're always working on something, isn't that right?
Always. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have something in the works. I'm having like a big magic moment. Have you guys read the book Big Magic? Yes. So I'm having this big magic moment. There's been this quilt design that's been in my head, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back. And I'm like, all right, I think I need to bring it to life because it's not going away. And if I don't pounce on it, it's going to go to
someone else. Yeah.
So
that's powerful
I'm at
stuff.
this moment where I need to start. I think it's getting to the point where it's consuming, and I need to try to bring it to life.
That inspiration is really good.
Yeah.
It's getting there. Well, yeah. And I'm like, and it would be a show quilt. It wouldn't be like a used quilt. So I'm like, do I try to get it done by October to submit it for QuiltCon? I'm like QuiltCon reject multiple years over, which I'm totally okay with because there's so many incredible artists out there. But I figure it could go just another year. Maybe I'll try another year and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I totally encourage you, Audra. Listen to that inspiration. It's
It's nagging. Like it's getting louder.
No.
Put it out there here on our platform. I'm like, okay, well now this is the first time you've mentioned it to me. So now you've got me cheering you on, and then you're going to have all of our listeners cheering you on, and we're going to need updates. But Audra and I are going to QuiltCon next year. It'll be my first time. I am so excited.
Oh, you're gonna love it. Oh, you're gonna love it.
My first time was Phoenix. And that is when I saw we were all still wearing masks. But you had a mask on, Verushka, that was clear so you could see your beautiful smile. And I remember I saw you in the aisle and I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, that's Verushka. Oh my God. Oh my God, that's Verushka. And I came up to you and I was like, hi, you don't know me, but I really love your work and you're incredibly talented. I was like, you were like I was like this big fangirl moment. I was like, and I walked away. I'm like, okay, I did it.
Oh my God. Oh, it was my first QuiltCon too. I was so nervous the whole time. Oh my God.
Will you be in Raleigh next year?
I will.
We'll have to meet in person.
A snack or something.
Yes, and a picture. And you know what? I've never done this before. I've never done this before on the podcast. But while we're here, let's take a quick photo. You ready? Everybody smile. All right. It's our photo before the photo together, and then in QuiltCon we'll put them side by side. This has been so fun, and we always like to wrap up with a positive, and that's our "you love to see it," where we each go around and share just something. It doesn't even have to be sewing related. That just is a feel good for this week that we are just loving. Just to wrap up on a positive. Not that this whole episode hasn't been a total positive, anyways. But I'll go first because for me it was finally getting to meet you and chat with you today. It's been a true honor. I've admired your work for a long time, and I've said that a few times throughout this episode. But it's beyond just your work. It's how you present yourself online. I feel like what I see is what I get, right? And that authenticity means a lot to me. But also seeing you with your family and celebrating your wins. I've just been a silent follower for a long time, and obviously a big fan of your patterns. And that's my "you'll love to see it," is to get to have this moment with you today. It means a lot. Audra, what is your "you'll love to see it"? And we'll let Verushka go last.
In the spirit of this episode's going to end around the time the unofficial end of summer is upon us, and I think and I think we can all relate to this. It's the loving and somewhat sadness of kids growing up. And this summer has been very different in our house because, like I said, Charlie is now going to be officially a teenager. And it's a very different summer. It's like, I'm going over to so-and-so's house. Hey, I'm texting with so-and-so. I'm going to go over to their house. Yeah. Hey, can we have this? It's the independence level has ratcheted up. You know, it's not, hey, Mom, what's for breakfast? It's, hey, Mom, I'm going to go have breakfast. Oof. Or, it's just like those little independent things. And it's cool to see that as a parent, you've created this creature that can sometimes function on their own. But on the flip side, it's like, oh, they don't necessarily need me as much. But that being said, we just started watching Gilmore Girls together. I'm still cool enough that she's like, hey, Mom, can we watch a TV show together? And I'm kind of hoping, because from what it looks like, I'm sure everybody's watched Gilmore Girls except me. There's a lot of episodes. So I'm just going to milk this as far as I can into her teenage years as I can. So we get
she's kind of that age of Rory, the main character. So it's perfect timing for you guys to watch that together. It's such a good show.
Yeah. You can open up a coffee shop. See, that would work.
Parallel a coffee shop with sewing machines for open sew time.
I love it. I
think it's just that it's you love the growth, and in some ways you're kind of sad about the growth, but then also I feel like then the neighbors across the street, they're up at 6 a.m. and going to bed at 8. And I'm like, oh, well, my kid's sleeping in and is not going to bed at 8. And I'm not sad about it. So you're like, yeah, I love it, but I'm also sad about it. I can't decide.
As I heard you speaking, Audra, there are two things that I've been running around in my mind. There's this one saying that goes, what's the best part about parenting? It's watching your kids grow up. And what's the hardest part about parenting is watching your kids grow up. It's like, it's what needs to happen, and yet it's so bittersweet. Yeah. There's this reel I saw one time that goes, parenting is something like helping the person you can't live without learn to live without you. Yeah. It's like my boys are 10 and 11, and I already miss them. Like my husband and I have a saying, we'll look at them and they're like, my boys are big. They're like big to begin with. So they look like they're 14, 15, but they're only 10 and 11.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I miss them already. And yet they're supposed to be growing. So this goes into my positive thing. One of the things that I've been trying to do is find something to be grateful for, like today. Like, so we start with like the little things, like I'm so grateful that our tummy is full today, or like we're safe for now, in light of all of media and news. Today we're good. Today we're healthy. Today we're together, and trying to cultivate a spirit of gratitude instead of like a deficiency. Well, why don't we this or why don't we that? Because it's very easy for us, because we're a very high energy family, like to dip into that, like why didn't blah blah blah. So like we're intentionally trying to, what are we grateful for today? How can we prayerfully go, what are we happy for today? Tomorrow will come soon enough. And that's been something I've been really, really trying to be intentional about as well.
Yeah. I've been dealing with that because, when this airs, my son will be back at school for his sophomore year of college, and I'm almost
by the way, Bethany, like you telling me you have a college kid, I'm like short circuit. I'm like, what'd you have when you were 2.5? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it was. Well, thank you.
Or he was such a perfect baby, like no wrinkles. Like I'm like.
No, but like it's been weird because I've been listening to like his conversations of like next year he wants to stay there for the summer and get an apartment with his friends. So I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, this is my last summer with him at home. This could be my last summer with him at home. And so just soaking it all in. You're totally right on just having to take it one day at a time and focus on the positives, because he may come back next summer, he may not. But I'm looking at it as, if he doesn't, at least I'm making the most now and I won't have any regrets. And that's the big part
that I want to just touch on really quickly. One of the gifts that I've found in the quilting community, like unexpected, you know how most quilters are older than us, right? Or older than me. And in many ways, I find that there's been this beautiful mentoring as a woman to a woman that's been happening, where they're like, look, sweetie, I've been where you've been. I know you're going to miss your kids, but then this happens. And that's something that I've never had before, where you have other quilters saying, I know you're about to hit empty nest, but then this is what happens then you become friends. Then you have this partner, and I'm like, oh, thank you. I really needed that, right? So there's this beautiful intergenerational mentoring that happens in the quilting community that I didn't even know that I needed, right? From women that have been where we're at and are on the other side of it, which is another gift, I think. You guys want to see the puppy that I didn't want?
Yeah, obviously.
This is my puppy who I didn't want, and now he's here with me all the time.
Oh, hold on.
How old is he?
He is almost 1 year old now.
What's his name?
Hi, friend. Hello. His name is Zesty, but we call him Cheeky Wee Wee. We call him Kitty Kitty.
Oh, he gives you kisses.
I did not want. I vehemently. Now it's like, yeah.
And this is Biscuit. So now they get to meet.
I feel like I need to let Walter in. Walter's banned from my sewing studio when we're
bring
filming.
in Walter.
I know, because he knocks my power cord out. No, I mean,
never mind.
He's a bigger boy than these two. That's
all
for
right.
sure.
Okay.
He's on my social. He's on my. I'll send you a photo. He's a sweetie. He's my rescue baby.
Awesome.
That's too funny. Do you have a you love to see it other than our adorable puppies?
Like the fact that you would want to hear my story, want to talk about this is the greatest. The community of quilting has been the greatest gift to me. Like now now we're besties. Like at QuiltCon, we got to go grab a cup of coffee. Like this is like is a gift.
This is what it's all about.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Because in other like you would never go up to a photographer, or they would never tell you, like, what aperture are you using? Like, what, like, tell me your story. Like, they don't want that, like, but this, like, I have 2 new friends out of this today. You know, that for me is truly the greatest gift, to have a community of other like-minded women who love the same things, and it's wholesome and beautiful and creative, and I just couldn't think of anything greater than that.
Audra, what do we have coming up next week? We can kind of tease that one a little bit.
Next week, which I think Verushka actually helped us tease up, she didn't even know it. Next week's episode is all about dealing with criticism and building a supportive sewing community.
It's a good segue into that one. Guys, we really appreciate you tuning in. Verushka, we appreciate you hanging out with us today. It's been an honor. And if you are not already subscribed to our YouTube, hop on over there. You can watch this episode and see her new puppy and all the other things that we've been talking about. But you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook. Be sure to join our private Facebook group, The Sewcial Sewist. The conversation does not have to end here. We'd love for you to continue to share your insights, your thoughts, your feedback on today's episode, and support each other. And we're building a wonderful community over there with our listeners, and we just appreciate all of you. So we'll see you next week. And thank you so much, Verushka. This has been a true privilege and honor for us.
This has been a wonderful social hour.
Yes. Oh, thank you. And on that note, happy sewing, guys. Bye.
Happy sewing.